The FBI shakeup, Doge is saving billions, and the fake news collapses. WorldNetDaily Live starts right now. Well, folks, welcome. It is Monday, February 24, 2025. Welcome to the program. Matt Edwards here. Josh Turnbow's in the house, of course, back from a day off on Friday. It's good to see you back. I can't hear you. Is that just me?
No.
Okay, good.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah. Oh, we can hear you.
Dude, happy to be back.
Oh, my gosh. And then the news over the weekend. Can we just, I mean, you say it. Who's now at the FBI?
Dan Bongino himself. The horns, yes. Yeah, Don, unbelievable. That I don't keep up on this like y'all do. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, cool, we're done, right? Everybody's in.
I know, right?
Everybody got in? No. I mean, Dan Bongino.
Yeah, it's incredible, folks. Here's the we'll throw up the article and we'll bring in Joe Kovacs as well. But here's the article over there. America just got a huge upgrade. Dan Bongino, who, if you're watching us on Rumble, you know exactly who Dan Bongino is because he's the #1 personality on Rumble.
Yep.
And then Joe Kovacs, welcome. Happy weekend or end of the weekend for you. What do you think of this news, man?
Well, I was about to go to bed last night and shut down. And just before I did, I happened to check Truth Social, President Trump's personal place where he posts messages. And I almost couldn't believe my eyes that it just said minutes ago that Dan Bongino had been named by Kash Patel as the deputy director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the famous FBI. And it was like stunning. Dan Bongino, former special agent with the United States Secret Service, former police officer in New York City, is now #2 at the FBI. So it was just fantastic. I was like, I have to write the story myself. I'm not going to, just link it to some other news agency. We have plenty of archived stuff on Dan Bongino, but it was thrilling to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of people. I remember early on as the administration was being formed, that people thought that he might take over the Secret Service because of his time at Secret Service. But to have him here in the FBI is pretty wild. So, folks, we got a bunch of clips to get through. We want to get you, if you're not familiar with Dan Bongino and some of the things, the bulldog that he really is on all of the Russia hoax and everything that has to do with everything, the corrupt under the sun. Dan Bongino was always there. So we're going to get into those clips here in just a minute. But real quick, we just have to make sure that you head over to patriotmobile.com/WNDpatriot. Hit the QR code there, scan that QR code, or you can take a screenshot and then touch the QR code, and it'll take you right where you need to be to sign up for the world's only Christian conservative wireless network. It is Patriot Mobile. They take a portion of their proceeds and they donate it to causes that you and I care about. And so you don't have to worry about when your money goes to those other big guys, how you've seen how they spend their money and what they promote. But here you get the same great coverage. Sometimes it might even be better. And if you use a promo code WNDPatriot, you can help the program as well. You can help WorldNetDaily by switching over to Patriot Mobile at patriotmobile.com/WNDPatriot. Okay, let's get right into this. We already showed the tweet from President Trump, but here is just a taste of, do you have Dan announcing, Josh, do you have Dan announcing his position here?
Yeah, just from his podcast. We have that, just a brief clip of that.
Yeah, let's take a gander. I haven't seen this yet.
So President, Attorney General Bondi, and now Director, gosh, that sounds good to say, FBI Director Kash Patel offered this role, a role I expressed an interest in. And ladies and gentlemen, I told you, you see, it's hard for me. I'm going to accept the role proudly as the Deputy Director, the #2 spot at the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Wow.
Incredible.
The reason I think he's so emotional about this is because he knows the gravity of what he is capable of and what he will not put up with. And I got goosebumps watching that because I'm just like, oh my goodness, it's happening.
Joe, I wanted to ask you, what do we expect from this?
I expect him to go in there and do a scorched earth policy, just like Kash Patel. Dan Bongino, a neighbor of mine, by the way, has made no secret about the changes that need to be made in federal law enforcement. I mean, he's out there, even before he was named, he has clips of himself just ripping into Adam Schiff over the Russia collusion hoax, which was an absolute hoax, saying, I'm not going to let this die. I'm not going to just keep it on the back burner. These things need to be investigated because we should never have elections influenced like that with just a bunch of BS. We need to clean the house of the BS. And I'm just thrilled that these two guys, it's like a tag team match. I don't know which one is actually stronger. They're like equally matched. So thankfully we have a tough guy. I mean, he looks like a tough guy. Just look at him sitting there doing a podcast behind a microphone. He looks like he could, reach right through the screen and punch somebody in the face. That's how tough he is. But he's like Tom Homan over, at running the border policy for President Trump. These guys know what they're doing. They know what needs to be done. And it's not always pretty what needs to be done, but it still has to be done.
Yeah, put up the shot. There's a picture that was posted out there. Here's the two guys. To your point, Joe, I think they're going to be like the good cop, bad cop guy, right? They're both serious. They're both absolutely serious. But if you've watched Bongino, like we said, he's one of the number one podcasters in the country, and especially over on Rumble. But, this guy he's a bulldog, and he's been that way forever. He's got his own radio show as well and everything. And then you got Kash Patel, who's always calm. He's always firm, but it's going to be this good cop, bad cop type thing. But I think it might also just be bad cop and crazy cop. I think that's where it's going to go.
Enforcer.
Yeah. Very good. Well, okay. So again, just to familiarize yourself with the mindset of Dan Bongino, watch this clip on how he's just, you can kind of start to go back in the archives and think, who would he target first if he's going to go investigate the wrongdoings and the nefarious activities, the malfeasance that have been going on in our government for the past 5-10 years. Watch this clip.
Spygate, Obama was in charge. Collusion. Spygate, Obama was in charge. Collusion hoax, Obama's in charge. The Hillary email scandal, Obama's in charge. The bribery scandal, Obama's in charge. There's a common thread. This isn't a conspiracy theory. What did I just say that's not factually accurate? Now, as this Biden scandal explodes with this allegation that he took a $5 million bribe as vice president, Obama's vice president, keep that in mind. Andy Biggs appeared on Fox yesterday. He was talking about these massive payoffs they have bank records of. They now have bank records. Nobody disputes the authenticity of these bank records flowing into the Biden Inc. crime network while he's vice president. Nobody disputes it.
Look out. I never want to hear my name uttered in his mouth. Right, Joe?
Like I said, when you are a tough guy and you hold on to these things, he's not somebody who just lets it go. He wants the public to remember. And, there have been so many scandals out there over the years that it's hard to remember all those. He was just giving a laundry list there. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I almost forgot about that one. So it's really important to remember the evil that has been done over the recent years. I'm thrilled that he is holding on to it because these things have to be investigated. You can't just do all these crimes and say, oh, well, that was, 3 years ago or 5 years ago or 9 years ago, and we're just going to sweep it under the rug. This is exactly what needs to be done. That's why the FBI has had such a poor reputation over the past few years or even decades is because they have become weaponized politically against the right, against conservatives, against Republicans, against Christians. And Americans are fed up with this. So I'm thrilled that someone, with the guts like Dan Bongino is going to help run the show.
Yeah, and I think this is a little bit different than when you look at some of the folks that were in the Biden administration or Obama administration, where they say like, oh, I hate Trump, and so I'm gonna go try and find a crime.
Yeah.
Bongino is like, there was a crime, and I know exactly who did it, and I'm gonna come after you. Maybe Adam Schiff. Watch this clip.
Mood today. If you only knew. Give me that House on Fire song. It's one of his old songs. This guy's on fire, just like the Bailey song. That house on fire. He is on fire, Schiff. 100% success rate of failing. Why is Adam Schiff so worried? Folks, I strongly encourage you to go back and take another look today at the Russia collusion hoax. I know it's a story that's old and a lot of people want to move on. I'm going to be straight with you. I don't want to move on. We had the FBI in conjunction with the Department of Justice, officials in Congress, foreign governments, and intel people fabricate a story, invent a story that could have caused and done serious long-term harm to international relations with a nuclear-powered foe. It's kind of a big freaking deal. I'm not letting it go. And you listen to me. This is going to be very important in the coming days. I'm not letting this go. I want to find out what happened because it can never happen again. Not to a Democrat, not to a Republican, not to a Libertarian, not to any United States citizen. You do not get to alter or try to change the course of electoral politics by fabricating a story, hijacking the justice system then to give the patina of truth to a fake story. You don't get to do that. Why do I bring that up now? Because who is the ringmaster of that circus? Yes, Adam Schiff. And no, I'm not letting it go.
Yeah, well, no, we're not. You're not going to let it go, Josh. I think the reason why that clip is so scary,
yes,
is because he alluded to things that are coming in the coming days. That was just a few days ago. So by this moment, he's already knows where he's headed.
Yeah, and this is the big thing. I think I was wondering about this, why it took so long to confirm Kash Patel is the FBI. They have the investigative power, as we well have seen that they completely turned it off when they didn't want it to work, and then turned it on in the unjust direction. We have this one comment here from Road Glide. Did I say that wrong? Road Glide. Bongino will arrest the DC pipe bomber. Put that on the list of like these mysterious things that we have no answer for. He's going to put true investigative power, and it's genius too, because, Patel is the lead. He's the flack, right? Good cop, bad cop, as we said. Yeah. So, I mean.
So, Joe, I want to ask you, because Thomas Massey, he had his tweet of the top three things. I'm going to ask you what your top three things are. You too, Josh. But here are the top three things that Thomas Massey wants to see Kash and Dan work on. Number one, January 6th pipe bomber, you just said. Most likely government involvement. Yikes. This is sitting Representative Huge. Thomas Massey. Number two, Ray Epps. We're not letting that one go. And number three, which is the one I find the most fascinating, the Las Vegas shooting. As an owner of fully automatic weapons, I don't believe all of that was done with bump stocks. Also, what's with the guy who was shot in the hotel, fled to Mexico, and came back? I may have missed that last point, Josh.
That was the security guard.
Yeah, you may have to fill me in a little bit more on that. But those are three things that Massey's looking for, you guys. What do you think, Joe?
Well, those are serious. And there's a few more serious things on a national level that everyone will remember because they were quite recent. And we've had 2 assassination attempts on Donald Trump in the past year, and we have zilch, nada on any of this stuff. I know one guy is in custody and the other is dead, but there are so many unanswered questions, especially about Butler, Pennsylvania on July 13th, the day that Trump got struck by a bullet. And I remember the last FBI director said for a few hours anyway, well, there's some question of whether he was actually hit by a bullet or some shrapnel flying around. But that's the kind of attitude that head of the FBI, I think it was Christopher Wray, said that. So those are the top two things I would like to see, the assassination attempts. And also, I want the details about who ordered what to go into Trump's personal home and raid it and go into Melania's underwear. And also there was an order or a standing order that if Trump were, that they could shoot to kill or something in that realm, where if somebody resisted, there was a shoot to kill order, or that lethal force could be used. I forget the exact terminology, but that lethal force could be used.
I remember that
at the Trump home. Who is responsible for that? I mean, it is just astonishing that we don't have the answers to these questions yet.
Yeah. What about you, Josh? What are you looking forward to?
You guys have nailed it. I think that it is acceptable to open the files of the FBI all the way back to the Obama administration. For instance, back then, and I know we have to go back. I mean, Thomas Massey said the Vegas shooting, but back then there were things like, as I'm pretty familiar with, the Malheur standoff in Oregon. That was a big FBI team brought out, and of course, an American was shot. That always was mysterious, but that event went crazy. That's back in 2016, if you remember, folks. That happened because there was a memo in the White House circulating that was essentially like a zero tolerance policy for the most dangerous terrorists that were now considered to be homegrown terrorists. I'd like to see all of the conversations around that, because that kind of culminates in the January 6th strangeness, right? With agents there. Obama started a lot of this. So I'd love to go all the way back to reopen some of those investigations and see the memos that none of us got to see that essentially say zero tolerance for these Americans. That's what I'd like to see.
Speaking of Obama, I just want to throw in one more, because everyone will remember this. Barack Obama's birth certificate. You know, let's have the real answers come out. We've had the cold case posse with Sheriff Joe Arpaio in Maricopa County years ago came to the conclusion that it is not a real birth certificate. It's completely fraudulent. So why can't the FBI investigate the truth of that matter? We have still may have had an illegitimate president serve in the White House.
Yeah. Well, WorldNetDaily classic.
Oh, that it is. It
yes, it absolutely is. I'm with you guys. I mean, all those things, of course, I'm with you, especially the domestic terrorism stuff and the way they infiltrate themselves and set people up. I mean, the Michigan governor plot, all the way, I'd say all the way back to the Oklahoma City bombing. Like, who knows what all this stuff is? And I suspect there's something with the eggs, the price of eggs and all the 100 million chickens that have died. I want the FBI to investigate that too. That's where I am on that. But you're absolutely right. You know, I downloaded that birth certificate back in the day when they posted it up on the website. You could download it and turn off the layers. It was a PDF. It was like a Photoshop PDF thing. I was like, how does this
I've seen that demo. Yeah.
Yeah. I did it on my own computer. I thought, how is this even possible? It was fascinating. Anyway. All right. Well, hopefully it's a long laundry list. I don't know if they'll get to it in all 4 years, but the good thing about Kash Patel as an FBI director is they typically go for 10 years. Isn't that right, Joe?
Typically, yes. And, you know, we've seen some people resign recently because they knew they were going to get the ouster. So you never know. You know, in politics, it's a strange thing, because in the executive branch, you basically serve at the pleasure of the president. There's no, official place that says, this is the term for an FBI director. I don't think so anyway.
No, yeah.
But it's just tradition that it's a 10-year term. But again, if the president doesn't like you, he can fire you at will. And that's what a lot of people in the executive branch are now finding out. Not just the Justice Department, but all across the executive branch. They don't realize they work for the president.
Yeah, he's the boss, man. You're fired. Well, we have a clip here of just somebody decided let's put this might be the greatest The greatest cabinet ever assembled. The greatest since this. Since Lord of the Rings. Very good. Very good. Hopefully they all survive, because not all 9 survived, but hopefully these guys all survive. I love it.
Perfect.
All right. As we move on to the next segment here, we want to let you folks know about the WND News Center. This is where you can donate directly to WorldNetDaily. This is a 501c3, so all contributions are tax deductible. Scan the QR code. It'll take you right where you need to be. You can make a one-time, you can make a monthly, weekly, whatever you'd like to do is greatly appreciated. It keeps the engines turning over at WorldNetDaily and here on this program. So you can support WorldNetDaily by donating over at the WND News Center. The link is also in the description, and we really, truly appreciate all that you can do to help support WorldNetDaily and preserving the truth and getting it out there. So thank you so much. All right, let's move on to the Doge. Doge. Federal employees apparently are really, really upset. I mean, I've never seen them this upset over a simple little email. Watch this clip.
Tell us about this email and what it was like receiving it and what you all have talked about after getting it.
Sure. I got this email Saturday afternoon, about 3 p.m., and I felt absolutely infuriated getting this email with a demand within 48 hours to provide a response on what I did within the last week or face termination. This is clearly an attempt from Elon Musk to harass and bully and intimidate the federal workforce, which is part of his broader plan to gut the federal workforce and privatize public sector services to ensure that corporations like his own can get more profit. And that makes me really angry, and my coworkers as well.
So the email in question here is, hey, reply to this email with 5 things that you did last week on the job. That's it, right, guys?
Yeah. And in other words, Matt, what is it exactly that you do here?
They don't do anything. That's the problem. Like, I got a cup of coffee, I went to the water cooler.
Yeah.
I played social media or blackjack on my phone or whatever it is they do, because they don't do the work. I mean, this girl sounds like a Valley girl, and she is obviously highly educated, but this is the kind of workforce that we have where they're outraged and they feel harassed. Somebody sent me an email asking what I did in the past week. Well, this is life.
Yeah.
You actually are supposed to do things on a daily basis. And if you have a hard time remembering what you did in the past week, maybe you should not be in the federal workforce.
Well, and this is the problem with the federal workforce, right, guys? Like I remember being in the private sector, and we'd have weekly meetings where we went around the table and everybody said what they were able to accomplish last week, so that way we could set up for the next week. Like, it was a common thing to report what you did the week prior. That's a no-brainer to me. So for the fact that she was so put aside by that, like, you, what did I do?
No-brainer.
Elon literally is like, this is the lowest bar possible. There are 5 bullet points. Please tell me what you did last week.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for somebody to complain about the word bullets being used in there as some sort of Second Amendment thing. Like, now he's threatening my life.
What do you mean by bullets?
Yes, exactly. Bullets. It's a trigger word, literally.
Yeah, and let's throw up the tweet where he kind of implies a little bit about, like, it's out of order. Oh, is it? Image 6. Throw up image 6 here, because I think this goes to what I think Elon was fishing at. It's not just about wanting to know what people are doing at work. It really is here. It says here, what he says, the reason this matters is that a significant number of people who are supposed to be working for the government are doing so little work that they are not checking their email at all. So this is also just a fishing expedition. Like, do you even check your email enough to respond to this, or to even if you're going to be offended? He said, in some cases, we believe that non-existent people or the identities of dead people are being used to collect paychecks. In other words, there's outright fraud. Now, I don't think you would say something like this unless you actually knew that this was going on, or you're simply just trying to make a point that, like, this is like you said, Josh, this is the lowest bar possible here.
I remember, Matt, I worked in a big company one time, and this big company literally fashioned itself after the federal government, and it had a lot of employees, but like in the hundreds of thousands, but not in the millions like the federal government. And it was well known that people, their consideration of work for the day was answering several emails. And it wasn't unusual to like go visit someone at their desk and they're just watching a movie, you know what I mean, on their computer.
Wow.
That happens in something so big and lumbering, and the waste in a different way, right? So that waste in those big corporations just pushed onto the customer. Mm-hmm. We're the customer in the case of the federal government. And so we're essentially paying people to do nothing for us while they ask us year after year to pay more for it, which is the ultimate insult.
Yeah.
I just want to know if one of those dead people, federal workers, he was referring to was the previous president, because we didn't see too much of him during the last 4 years, and he was getting a federal paycheck, and a lot of people wondered, is this guy actually breathing or not?
Yeah, that's such a great point. Well, the people I think are behind us. Look at this chart here. This is a graph just kind of showing the support. This is all overwhelming support here, and when it comes to, I think it's the second one down there, undertaking a full-scale effort to find and eliminate fraud and waste in government expenditures, 76% in this poll are in support of that. That's right under deporting the immigrants who are here illegally and have committed crimes, which is 81%. So there's a lot of support on all these things here, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm in those supportive camps as well, and I think it just gives this department, this Doge department, the Trump administration, it just keeps them firing away, and we just love to see it. I mean, we are 1 month and 3 days, and we just got Dan Bongino.
I'm shocked, though, that number is so high of the people that don't want to continue to find fraud, waste, and abuse and make government more efficient. I mean, that's like 1/4 of the population of America thinking it's completely fine. Maybe they're
that
just
is weird.
Maybe that's because the federal government's the largest employer. So maybe they all just work for the government, and it's their spouses.
That's possible.
The gravy train.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, here's let's go to this tweet here. I don't know, is it Ralph Norman, a Republican out of South Carolina here? Let's listen to this.
Price tag that the taxpayers pay is right at $271 billion a year. Is it too much to ask for them to verify why they're making an average salary of $106,000 a year? Do you think in the private sector that single mom who is working 2 jobs at a restaurant can't justify where she was, or the hygienist at the dentist's office can't verify how many patients they saw? The absurdity and I guess the arrogance of the workers who says that's a heavy lift is what's wrong with that's what the Americans are sick and tired of. It's not their money. We're the ones who are paying the bills. We have a right to know.
That's right. And then Trump retweeted this. I'm sorry, Elon Musk retweeted that and said those who ignored President Trump's executive order to return to work have now received over a month's warning. You've had a warning. You've had a month's warning on this. So starting this week, those who still fail to return to office will be placed on administrative leave. So, I mean, they're still giving, in my estimation, they're still giving them time to respond, right? Administrative leave, right? You're not fired yet, but you're going to be put on leave, and then we'll sort you out. I don't know. I'd have fired everybody by now. It'd be like the air traffic controller situation in the 80s, with Reagan. Just done. New crop. Let's go.
And over the weekend, Trump put out, I think on Truth Social, a message that he would like Elon Musk to be more aggressive than he is. He says he's doing a good job, but I want him to be more aggressive. We have a country to save here.
Good cop, bad cop. You love it, right?
Exactly. So,
and they trade off sometimes. Sometimes one's the other cop, right? It's you got to have that. You got to set the bar a certain way, and then you got to have, it's great. I love it. Josh, you're smiling. You just love this, right?
Man, I just every week it's like new news. I am looking forward to. I've been hearing about the government, or the fact they're going to look at the Pentagon, and now that they're formulating a plan for that. So yeah, go down the list. I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
It's a new day. You know what I mean? Like I heard a good commentary that, the Navy wants a bunch of these large cruiser ships to be financed, but we now know that thanks to Ukraine, that just a small drone will take out $1 million tank for about $100. So no, it's a new day. And just in time, I hope.
Sure. There's an account on X called Data Republican.
Oh yeah, very good account.
Small R. He emphasizes small R Republican.
Yeah,
but I'm not exactly sure who this person is, but I think they're part of the Doge team, right? Or closely related to it, or something, or they just
it's a she.
It's a she. Apologies.
And so she's actually deaf. It's a very different kind of character. And she examines data, and then has been making it public through her X account.
Right. So here's what she said. I've said it again, and I'll say it again. Taxpayer-funded NGOs function as a parallel government.
Mm-hmm.
It's so true. And even worse, many sitting members of Congress are directly involved in them. They see themselves as the real government, prioritizing debates with other bureaucrats on the global stage over serving the people that they represent. This is why critical issues like healthcare, education, and help for Helene victims are consistently neglected, because they're sending all of this money and all of their time and all of their resources and energy over to these NGOs, which have their own agenda, their own globalist, new world order agenda. So I'm really excited about this account and how it exposes all that data.
it's funny that she mentioned the members of Congress are involved in these NGOs, because we've seen a lot of press in the past couple of weeks about millions of dollars going overseas to these causes that are absolutely absurd. And yet these members of Congress are the only ones that are screaming about it, because there's a very strong possibility, or perhaps even likelihood, that these millions of dollars are coming directly back to them as some sort of kickback or payoff. And all these people, I don't want to say all of them, but many of the people in Congress, as you know, they have a salary of $100,000 or $200,000 a year, and they're worth $29 million or $50 million dollars. How is that happening? So that's another thing we need the FBI to investigate. Throw that one up on the list for Dan Bongino and Kash Patel.
Yeah, the list grows. The list grows. Before we show this next tweet or post here from Tristan Snell, we played the clip earlier of CNN giving airtime to this federal worker who was so offended by having to respond to an email about what they did last week, that Tristan Snell brings up a fantastic point here. Let's read it. It says, if someone is fired for not complying with a vaccine or a testing mandate, that termination is for cause, which means no severance, likely forfeiture of any employee's stock options, and being ineligible for unemployment benefits. So I don't recall anybody being interviewed on CNN for being fired for not taking the vaccine, right? Or testing when they showed up for work. So it's so appalling how many people. I mean, I know people personally that lost their jobs, that had to change careers, that had to do something because they wouldn't comply with a vaccine mandate. But they certainly didn't get any airtime on CNN, you guys.
The hypocrisy is so complete, and the left won't acknowledge it. But yeah, firefighters, police officers, armed, like legitimate officers in the military, like lieutenant colonels in the military, canned over not taking the mandate, and there was no uproar at all. And now it's just, all down to an email. Please fill out this email. How dare you?
Yeah.
In fact, I just want to remind people, I think the so-called president at the time, Joe Biden, said it was the unvaccinated. The unvaccinated population was one of the greatest threats to America right now. So if you refuse to get the COVID jab, the deadly jab, with all these adverse effects, you were part of the problem. So it's just, you're right. The hypocrisy is astonishing, and people need to be reminded of these things. It wasn't that long ago, just a few years ago, but people's lives were devastated. I know people that had to move out of state to find other jobs because their employer would no longer employ them if they didn't get the shot.
Yep. Everybody has those stories. We have our own personal stories about all of this stuff, but CNN doesn't give a rip about us. And we know that. We know that. That's why we do this show. That's why everybody's watching here. So thank you all for watching. We love seeing the comments come in. It's fantastic. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you're watching. You got backup accounts all over. We'll get into that in a moment. But Joe, you have an article up at WorldNetDaily about the latest tragedy. The latest. I mean, this is heartbreaking. Here.
Tragedy.
It's such a tragedy.
Victory.
Tell us what happened here, Joe.
I just want to remind everyone that this is Black History Month. And,
and whose history now?
Exactly. In the midst of Black History Month, we have Joy Reid, the host of The Readout, who is now literally out thank you, at MSNBC, because there's a major shakeup going on there at the network. And, Joy Reid is an interesting character because she is just unwavering in her viciousness against Donald Trump. And it's to the point of hilarity where, first of all, she has like a different wig. If she's wearing a wig every night, the wig makers of America are in mourning now because their business might go down because she had quite a variety. But to watch her show, people would actually pull clips, comedians would, because her show was so off the charts to the left that they could always find interesting fodder for their programs. So Joy Reid is just the latest. She was in the 7:00 slot, which is prime time, over on the Fox News channel. I think Laura Ingraham has that time slot. So that's her competition. But she's the latest name to be pulled off the air. Now, recently we saw, CNN was putting Jim Acosta in the midnight slot, and I think he didn't want to be in the midnight slot, so he actually retired from CNN and has his own big show from his own apartment complex and a viewership of about 3, including his parents. But somebody wrote on one of the social channels about the Joy Reid departure is coming as a devastating blow to her one viewer. Not sure who that viewer is, but anyway, it's the latest sign that, people are waking up and the world is healing when Joy Reid is going off the air.
Yeah, I suspect she'll pop up somewhere, as they always do these days with the internet. But here's speaking of posting on social media, here's Donald Trump about all of these things. Low-life chairman of Comcast, Brian Roberts, and the owner of ratings-challenged NBC and MSDNC, has finally gotten the nerve to fire one of the least talented people in television, the mentally obnoxious racist Joy Reid. Based on her ratings, which were virtually non-existent, she should have been canned, quote, canned long ago. Why is canned? Why is that in quotes? Am I missing a pun there, you guys?
I don't know.
Joe, you're the master of puns. Am I missing one there? She should have been canned long ago.
Well, he can only use the word "you're fired" so many times before he has to come up with another word for it. I don't know.
Well, now he's calling for throwing out Alex Wagner, the sub on the seriously failing Rachel Maddow show. Rachel rarely shows up because she knows there's nobody watching. This is a great tweet. You guys just gotta go over there and read it through yourself. I think it's just, whenever these people fall like this, it we look at it, we say the world is healing, but like I mentioned, they'll pop up. Like Don Lemon popped up on Twitter for a little while, then he was like, no, I'm going to go over here, and Chris Cuomo's over here on this other channel now. So I suspect we won't see the last of her, but I don't know if there's much appetite for these days for what she does. Let's watch a little bit of what Joy Reid has been made famous for.
Begin our final sprint, having arrived at that point in the election season where basically we on this side of the TV screen have said all we can. We've laid out the stakes in this crucial election where one side stands for freedom while the other meets the textbook definition of fascism, namely a far-right dictatorial regime like Hitler's Germany or Franco's Spain or Mussolini's Italy, but also white-ruled South Africa before Mandela and the black majority took control, or Vladimir Putin's Russia, Viktor Orban's Hungary, or Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela today, that suppresses the rights of women and minorities, uses the military to execute the whims of a strongman dictator, and controls and suppresses the press, education, the arts, rewrites history to suit a favored and dominant racial class, and foments extravagant corruption in order to enrich the dictator and his friends.
The projection on this is astounding. Like, I'm literally thinking like that was all, like Joe Biden, the corruption,
the big guy.
It was absolutely incredible.
I just want to remind everyone that the 2028 presidential election is next on the list, and they don't have a leader of the Democrat Party right now. All these names have been thrown out there, including Pete Buttigieg or John Fetterman. But if they stay on this leftist cuckoo track that they're on, Joy Reid just possibly could end up there somewhere on that ticket, or at least in an administration if they happen to steal the next election. So just the Democrats always reward people for failure. It's part of their template. Like, the worse you do, the higher we're going to promote you. So I think you're right there, Matt, that she will pop up somewhere, and it could be in a high political position.
Oh, well, brace for impact on that one. I'll tell you that.
Please
right now.
no.
Well, first she has to cry. She has to wipe her tears away because she did react to the news of her canned show.
Value, and that that what I was doing had value. And in the end, I try not to cry on TV, and this is kind of like me on TV, so I apologize. And that it mattered. I see Karen is there, and she's been texting me as well. And so what I will just say is that in the end, thank you. Where I land is that the moment of guilt that I felt, that I went hard on so many issues, whether it was the Black Lives Matter issues of a young baby or a mom or a dad that was killed, or when we opened up people's eyes to the fact that Asian Americans were being targeted, and not just Black folks, or went hard for immigrants who've done nothing but come to this country like my parents did and try to make a life and defended them, or whether we've talked about what the president is doing that is subversive to the Constitution, that is injurious to our liberty, defending books that people find inconvenient, that Nicole Hannah-Jones put into our spirit, that we need to understand 1619 as the real founding of this country, whether it's talking about any of...
Yeah, we can jump out of this.
Good
Matt,
riddance.
Do you have a toilet flushing sound effect? Can you do that?
I don't.
That'd be great.
But we can send her off at that. Yeah.
She did an amazing job reminding us that we'll not miss her at all.
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. And
BLM. Yeah, she had to mention that. That's amazing. I forgot about that too.
And do you also remember they tried to do it with the Asian Americans? They tried to there was a time where they started highlighting attacks against Asian Americans, and it didn't really take off much. In fact, all it did was point attention back to the fact that Asian Americans were getting discriminated against at Harvard and Yale because they were too smart to get in. So anyway,
it really backfired when they stopped wanting to show the videos of who was largely attacking Asian Americans. It did not work for their idea at all. Had it been like, beautifully bald shaven white men with beards or something like that, you would only see the video nonstop. But it was not that, it turns out.
Yeah, it turns out it wasn't. Yeah. All right, folks. Well, Joe, where can folks follow you and keep tabs on your work and other works that you may have available for them as well?
The main news site is WorldNetDaily.com, WorldNetDaily, also known as WND.com. We've been there since 1997, one of the pioneers on the internet. I also have an X account at Joe Kovacs News, And for those interested in the Bible and being inspired on the higher level, you can go to reachinggodspeed.com. That's reachinggodspeed.com.
Fantastic. Thank you, Joe. And Josh, we always like to say, if you're watching us over on YouTube and Facebook, we love it over there, but they got to come over to Rumble.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I like, as we do the show, I always think like, oh, I think we said the V word for sure. This one's getting hit over on YouTube until they can like really kind of, figure that out with YouTube. I think they need maybe a little slap on the wrist that says, stop censoring things. But Rumble, guys, no slaps on the wrist for Rumble. And, the show does great over there. We hope you go over there and watch it. You can get there by hitting the QR code, but also there's a green button and it says follow. Need you to hit that. Maybe put the app on your phone. That would be awesome. And of course, we're going to take all of this content from today's show and we're going to put it over on Facebook, Twitter, Truth Social. We'll be on all of the accounts. You can find all of the good stuff over there. The Facebook is obviously a large account. We hope you can go over there. If you like your Facebook and you see the clip, we'd love you to like it and comment. We love to see your comments. And you can find out more of my silliness over at Josh_Turnbow on X. That's where I'm doing all my, it's really where I cover important issues like, are these UFOs real? Are these just drones? I'll be talking about that over there. And of course, as Joe said, WorldNetDaily. That is the mothership for all the content. The team's working hard over there. And we're happy to bring that to you.
Fantastic. All right, gentlemen, well, enjoy the rest of the afternoon wherever you are, and we'll see you back here on Wednesday. Thank you so much. God bless.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.